Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmersday, October 20th, 2025. On the show today, news. In listener questions, we track down a former Imagineer to ask, what did you do? In surveys, we add the words, so we can charge money for it next time, to the end of every Disney survey question. Plus an interview with Jill Peterfesso about her new book, Why the Magic Matters, Discovering Disney as a Laboratory for Learning. In our main segment, Jim continues the history of Disney Springs with a look at how the West Side has evolved, including the doomed Hyperion Wharf concept. Let's get started by bringing in the man who's got 2 left feet and a series of increasingly strident voicemails from the local funeral home. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
It's going well, Len. And I have to say, I am spending entirely too much time at funeral homes. And part of that is because Nancy teaches water aerobics. And
unsuccessfully? Is that where you're going with
that? No, actually quite successfully. I mean, the little old ladies who take their classes, classes, 70 or 80-year-olds going like gangbusters. But to be honest, it's their spouses that are dropping like flies. And, so invariably, once or twice a month, Nancy and I have to go out because, again, these are her students and we have to be respectful. And, I'm in this space. Basically, I don't know anyone, and it comes to that awkward moment where, you're in front of the box and, you're supposed to do something.
Yeah, bow, wave. Like, what do you do? It's just stand there respectfully for 30 seconds.
Well, then it's so interesting you say that because what I do now is, as you just mentioned, I step up to the box and I stand there, I bow my head, and in my head I do 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. But my concern is that may be too short. So if anybody has another rhyme or something from childhood, they could suggest, because it feels like it's not a full 30 seconds, and I feel like I should do something that's a full 30 seconds. So
you need 10, 15 seconds, somewhere in there. Longer than a commercial break, but not as long as a sermon.
There we go.
Other people need their time, right? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I got out of your conversation is that your town must be filled with rich widowers. So, if you're a man of a certain age, just get in contact with Jim. I'm just saying.
There we go. Yeah, I can hook you up. Now, mind you, I can't guarantee it'll last unless you take the classes.
Do what you can. All right.
There we go.
Also with us is Dr. Jill Peterfesso, professor of religious studies at Guilford College in North Carolina and co-editor of the new book, Why the Magic Matters, Discovering Disney as a Laboratory for Learning. Welcome, Jill.
Hello. Hey, Len and Jim. So good to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. You've written in with a couple of questions on the show before, and you've listened for a while. I apologize for all of that.
Yes, I've listened religiously, and as a religion professor, when I say that means something. So
you exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about at that point.
Right.
All right. Well, that makes one of us. All right, there we go. All right, let's do a quick shout out to our subscribers. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, including Gray Hauser. Hey, Gray. James Beauchamp, Jeffrey Wagner, Catherine Thomas, Kai Layton, and Lynn Rasmussen. Jim and Jill, these are Disney's Port Orleans managers working to make your visit even more authentically Southern, with plans to rename Magnolia Bend Dale Earnhardt Estates, Biscuitville kiosks in the food courts, and mullet hairdos for all the cast members. True story.
Wow. Okay. And again, those letters go to Len Testa. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm just happy we talked them down from the Leonard Skinner tattoos. But anyway. All right. And now it's time for our interview with Jill. Jill, thank you for coming on the show. I am super excited to talk about this book. And just as background, I think I've told people on the show before, when I started the academic part of my research about Disney parks those many years ago, like, the mid 90s, you could probably read in 1 week every academic paper ever published on theme parks as an intellectual pursuit. And that has changed rapidly. I think I said on the show before, the last time I looked just at scheduling problems in the tourism industry, there were 200 papers submitted since 2022, right? And so this book is very timely. Tell us how the book came about.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have listened to the show a lot since 2016, and I was listening to the Disney Dish. So, round of self-congratulations to the Dish for helping to make this happen. Yep, exactly. So, I was listening to the Dish as I was driving home from school. This was like early 2023, and I was getting ready to plan my second Disney Study Away course that was going to be in April, May. And you mentioned on the show a course at Elon University on like the science of happiness at Disney, and Elon University. I was driving by Elon University as I heard this, and I thought I didn't know somebody.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes outside of Greensboro,
Exactly.
right? On I-40 or I-85.
Yeah, both of those, yeah. So I got excited because I'm like, somebody nearby at Elon is doing something similar to what I'm doing, which is teaching Disney Study Away classes, and I didn't even know it. So I looked on the website of Elon. I found the teacher, who was Alexis Franzese, who's a sociologist at Elon, and reached out and said, let's meet and chat. So we did, and and I was like, let's do like an article like on teaching Disney. And this was during fraught political times. This was 2023, so Disney was getting caught up in some of the Governor DeSantis stuff. And I'm like, we probably would have a lot to say. And Alexa said, well, let's do an edited volume. So it sort of evolved.
Wow, it went from an article to book.
Exactly. Exactly. So then it was a matter of, what do we write this book on? There exist other edited volumes on Disney that are really good. So I thought, well, we're teachers of Disney, and while there are really good books on teaching Disney, there aren't books by teachers of Disney talking to wider readers about like what's cool about studying Disney at some deep clinical academic levels. So that became the premise, and that's what we did. So we have a book that has 22 different contributors. Len is one of them. Len's biography is sort of like perfect for the book. You can say more on that, Len, if you want. But like what does it mean to combine academics and Disney, and what comes from that? Yeah. So that's what the book is doing.
Yeah. So I wrote the foreword for the book, and I was super excited to do it because it does a couple of things. One is it explains sort of where Disney fits in terms of like, why you would study it and how you would study it. The second thing is that I got to make a bunch of smart aleck comments in an academic forward, and that's very rare to happen. Thank you for not editing those too much.
Yeah, we wanted to keep those.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Len, which are the two nations that you cite that, Disney actually has a higher gross income than two countries, right?
Yeah, so I make the statement that if you look at Disney's reach, they're basically a nation state, and I supplement that by the fact that if you look at the amount of money that Disney earns in a given year, its gross revenue, it's somewhere between like Peru and Uzbekistan, I think, were the two. I mean, it's like in the top 100 in the world, in terms of countries, and that its legal arm. The lawyers that they have are the envies of a lot of like political parties. So in a very real sense, they shape laws and behavior, and obviously they shape media messages for a vast swath of the Western Hemisphere. So it's interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Jill, the premise is, how do we teach Disney, and what do we teach about? You said the structure of the book is you've got individual contributors for each chapter, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the overall framework that you've got for it? Like how did you tell people like this is how we want you to talk about this?
Right. Good. So first, I want to say thank you to all our contributors because they were really eager to be in the book. Like when you pitch this idea, you never know if people are going to be like, oh, come on. But like that they were eager to do it means that these are educators who use Disney content, who often teach Disney courses are really excited to do it. So we found these folks. And so when you're pitching a book, it has to be unique. And then you also want to give something to your contributors so they know, like, what the heck am I writing about? Where does this fit into this overall structure? So the structure is we have 4 sections, and the framework is these dialectic pairs. So what is a dialectic? I mean, this is a term that has been thrown around in Western philosophy for like 2,500 years. And there are a number of ways to think about it. But the way we think about it is a dialectic pair are like 2 terms or concepts that when you put them together, they look like they're in tension with each other, but in fact, they're sort of necessary to make the thing. So, for example, one of the dialectic pairs at the beginning of the book, the first section, is magic and strategy. And the idea is that Disney is both magic and strategy. Like, you can't just have the magic, because that wouldn't be Disney. Disney's, in fact, very strategic in the way it deploys the magic. And you can't just have strategy, because that becomes very boring, and Disney doesn't have an identity or a brand consciousness.
Right. Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So it's these things that seem contradictory, but go together. We also, the other pairs are nostalgia and innovation, authenticity and simulation, and leisure and labor.
Oh,
right.
Okay. I think everyone understands the book right now. All right.
Yes, exactly.
I love that you've got both the qualitative and the quantitative aspects of everything covered. It's like the strategy part is like, you've got people in there like Lucy McGowan from Wake Forest who looks at numbers, right? And you got people who look at the broader aspect of, like, what does representation look like in a Disney park or in a Disney ride? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You said, Len, in the New York Times piece on the loss of Disney and the loss of the middle class earlier in August. I keep returning to that article, but you said, like, Disney is an analytics company that has films and parks. You said something like that.
Yes.
They're an analytics company that just happens to run theme parks and make movies, but their analytics capabilities are second to none. Yeah, and
that's magic plus strategy.
I mean that all in the best way possible. Like, I really. I'm impressed with their analytics team.
I would have put that in the intro of the magic and strategy section had you said it a year ago. It just sort of perfectly captures, like, the both and, but you can't separate them out. Like, Disney's not just nostalgia, it's also innovation. And the two things together make Disney what it is. So it's a way to help readers think in the way that college students are meant to think. It's not like, here's a fact, here's some info. No, it's like, here's info, but we want you to think about it. And
these 2 things in tension, how do you resolve them? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I can imagine that as a professor of religious studies, you debate or you discuss the problem of evil quite a bit, and like there's like sort of same concept, right? All right, fair.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so who's your target audience for the book? As you're writing it, you're like, gosh, I hope these people read it.
Yeah, I certainly was thinking about. Alexis and I were thinking about a range of audiences. I wanted Disney Dish listeners to want to read this book. And I think it would be a perfect fit, because you've got, like, the newsy, pragmatic park stuff, like the goings on, but paired with, like, Jim's history and analysis and deep dives into things. And the book does both. Like, the chapters are short, relatively short for an academic book. They're accessible. They're written in a way that we want you to feel smart. We don't want you to be like, I'm tripping over all these hard words and these names I don't know. Like, we want everyone to feel invited in. So certainly Disney fans who, like, maybe lean toward nerdy or intellectually curious. The fact it is an academic book means it's been peer reviewed, so it's suitable for college students at a range of levels. And there are a ton of college classes on Disney. In fact, we've learned about that more and more in the process of doing this book. It's really exciting. I also think about, like, high schoolers who are looking at going to college and they like Disney. Like, the book helps them to see how looking at Disney from a range of academic lenses can be really valuable. And it teaches them about that academic lens. It's not just about Disney. You're sort of also learning about, what does it mean to think about something from a media studies perspective, a data science, a business, a psychology, a religious studies, a disability studies. Like, you're also sort of introduced to all these different academic forms. And, like, I don't want listeners to be intimidated by the academic bookness of it, because these are written by educators who are used to explaining difficult things in a way that's accessible to students. So we've written the book for anybody who's curious about Disney plus learning together.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like the framework that you've set up there with the individual topics that are self-contained on a different area, because one of the things that I stress with like anyone going into like the academic side of Disney is you need a framework for just describing things. Like, what is it that we're talking about here and what do they mean? And then what sort of analysis is fair within that little framework? Like, what are the things that are in this topic, and then, what's under the control of the topic. And so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Since the book has been out, have you heard from anyone at a college, either at a professor or at a sort of like a management level, who's like, oh, I didn't know that this kind of thing existed?
In terms of the book?
Yeah, no, in terms of like studying Disney. Like I saw your book and I didn't realize this was even possible, but now I see that lots of other people are doing it.
I haven't heard anything about that yet. I mean, the book's been out about a month.
Okay. So not enough time.
Yeah, so it's still pretty new. I'm hoping that we hear those sorts of things. I'm hoping that many of the Disney professors out there find this book a helpful way to get into the material. I often teach a Disney class that's a first-year seminar. So it's like one of the first classes students take in their fall semester of their first year. And I find Disney such a great way to get students introduced to liberal arts thinking and college-level thinking, because they're already smart about Disney. Like, they already know enough about Disney that they're not intimidated by the material. So what becomes challenging is not this content, but the analytical tools and the disciplinary angles. So I hope more people discover the book and teaching Disney and teaching pop culture, like that relationship through the book. I would love it if that were one of the outcomes of this text.
What's the specific class that you teach at Guilford?
I have like 4 or 5 different Disney classes. My first Disney class was in 2015, and it was a first-year seminar called Discovering Disney, Innovation, Intellect, and Imagination. Okay. And then I've taught that in a few different forms, 5 or 6 times. I've taught 2 study away Disney courses. One was called Fantastic Journeys. One was called Self-Discovery and Narrative. And then I've taught, I know. Yeah. And then I've taught another one that was like an English religious studies cross-listed class, that was looking at story, fairy tale, and also like cultural, history, cultural criticism. So I do a bunch of different things with Disney, and yeah, it brings students in. They're interested. I am worried about Disney as a cultural touchstone in the next 10 plus years, because it's what you and Jim were talking about last week, like how expensive it's becoming. So when you're going to lose a large number of people who can't access the parks, or for whom Disney is not like just part of their everyday, I wonder if the number of college classes that will appeal to a certain number of students will shrink. It's just something I'm curious about, given the economics of things. I mean, not the least of which the economics of a college tuition, right? So that by itself becomes 100%. I was in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to somebody at Trinity College. I mean, Trinity College is a decent college in Ireland, right? And so we happened to be talking like about college life and things like that. And I'm like, just out of curiosity, what do you pay for a semester of tuition at Trinity College, including room and board? Because I know what I paid for my daughter, and it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of 6 years, including graduate school. Does anyone want to take a guess as to what a semester of tuition and room and board costs at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland?
It's surprisingly affordable, I'm thinking. 1,200?
It was 3,000 euros a semester, including room and board.
Oh my!
And I was like, I will take 12 of them right now.
Oh my! At Trinity College?
I was like, for $3,000, I know college administrators who wouldn't slap you in the face for that little money. That's doesn't. Wow. Yeah, 3,000 euros. Yeah.
I think I paid more for Framingham State back in '78. Oh my God! Wow. I feel the need to tell all listeners that the money is not going to the professors.
No, the money is absolutely not going to the professors. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I know. It's I will note on a tangential thing, and not necessarily related to what Jill just said, that Penn State had to buy out the contract of its football coach for what, $41 million?
Oh no. Yes.
Just saying. Anyway. All right, back on topic. So Jill, you did those classes. What kinds of Disney college courses or areas of studies are the collaborators doing in the books? Yeah, there's so many cool things that they're doing. When we were soliciting
contributors for the book, like we asked them to fill out a form that sort of told us about their cool classes. So I could talk about this for the entirety of your show. I will limit myself to a few of them. But so let's see. We've got a contributor named Alex Hoffman who teaches a class called Theme Park America at University of Chicago. And it looks at things like, as I understand, like World's Fairs, amusement parks, like community gardens as sort of a precursor to this thing that becomes the theme park in the mid 20th century from Disney. And that involves a travel component. We have an art historian, Cher Krause Knight, who teaches on, it's like urban art. And so it looks at like Disney as like an architecture and how the parks like implement the sort of things that are also being done like in city building. Okay. We got a contributor named William Chavez who teaches a class on religion and film, and he has done that exclusively through Disney films and looking at Disney films through religious studies lenses of like mythology and sacrifice and prophecy and transcendence, like looking at Disney films that way.
Really? So so he's able to identify a religious component in Disney films.
Yes, and in fact was on a panel with him like 2 years ago. That's how I found him. And he does this. He did this like really cool like religious analysis of like the Lion King sequel and some of the like the video games around it. It was just really cool. And like, yeah, that tracks religious studies approval, like with the way that he's able to do that. So absolutely.
It's funny you mentioned that because the only religious reference I've ever explicitly noticed in a Disney film is that the Pope Mobile exists in the Cars universe. I say that as a joke, but think about the implications of what that means. That the Roman Catholic Church exists in the Cars universe and everything that entails, right?
I need to find this. I need to find my other research is on Catholicism, so I feel like I'm missing an opportunity to brand myself as interdisciplinary.
There's a thesis in here somewhere. I just know it. Yeah. All right, so that's fantastic. So so what else? What else do you have in there? Was there anything that like you were like surprised to hear about? Like, oh, I've never thought of that as an area. Like,
yeah, okay. So we have another scholar, Gary Kaskowitz. He's a business and marketing professor at a small liberal arts college, and so he has done amazing stuff like with all these different programs at his school. Like as he told us, he's teamed up with religious studies, sociology, poli-sci, music to teach like Disney classes that cross list. He was working on a class with the history department called Selling Utopia, which sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And he did a class on entrepreneurial thinking that involved Disney, on experiential marketing.
Sure. So
there is that. We have another contributor, Sarah Nilsson, who is like a well-known Disney scholar, and she has classes on, or her chapter in the book is about Disney as an ecologist, like an early environmentalist in the 20th century, sort of setting the stage for Americans embracing an environmental movement, which is fascinating.
Yeah, the Nature's Wonderland film, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the True Nature documentaries and things
True
like
Nature,
that.
Yeah, thank you.
So she's got classes on like the history of wildlife films that involves Disney. She has a class on Disney and American childhood, Disney and princesses. Yeah, there's just all sorts of things you can do with Disney. Like, and Lucy, you mentioned Lucy earlier. Like, I know she's worked with touring plans. She doesn't teach Disney classes per se, but she uses Disney data sets to teach data analysis. Yeah, which is just incredible. So yeah, I was surprised to learn all the many ways that Disney is used in higher ed. And I think it speaks to how creative professors are at trying to engage students. Yep. It shows what students are sort of interested in. I mean, it also kind of shows the consumer mentality of students, like, this needs to entertain me. I think we can blame Walt for that going back to the 50s. But yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool things that are happening. There's an article written by one of our contributors. His name is Christopher Tremblay. I don't have the article in front of me, but he did a study like in 2016, 2017 of college courses that he could find like on the web of Disney. And there were like 70 of them.
Oh, so, wow. That many.
Yeah,
wow. I
can send you this article if you guys are interested.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah. I mean,
it's
just
really
like to know the people. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing. It's funny you mentioned the kids coming in understand Disney, because I think one of the things that you and Alexis and I have talked about is like, if you're trying to teach students, step one is getting them engaged in something, right? Because if it's a topic that you like or are familiar with, right, you don't have to it's one less thing you've got to worry about in terms of learning, right? You can focus on the underlying, the problems or whatever you're trying. You don't have to become familiar with Disney itself. Everyone kind of understands that. Have you found that at Guilford College that most of your students, I'm sure they've been exposed to, at least the students from the United States have been exposed to Disney media, but what about like international students? Is it the same?
I'm trying to think about the international students I've taught. I've certainly taught more American students, but...
Yeah, here's why I mentioned this. In a couple of weeks, I'm doing a talk for Columbia University's data science department. Wow. And the vast majority of them...
internationals,
Internationals, the vast majority, like 80% are international students. And I'm like, will my profanity translate, to their particular language? Because it's a concern that I have. But number two, are the references, the basic references going to make sense?
Yeah. It's always hard to tell because students, it's hard to compare. I found this as Alexis and I were working on the book, Elon students versus Guilford students are different. So once you and they're both in central North Carolina. So it speaks to
and they're both private schools, right? They're both private.
Yeah. But it just what kind of experiences have you had before? I would say my international students and other international students I've encountered through other things, maybe not in the classroom, they definitely think Disney is an access point to American culture.
Oh, okay.
So maybe they don't know everything, but neither do a lot of my students. And that's okay. They recognize Mickey Mouse. They know Disney equals magic. They've seen some of the movies. So I don't know. I'll be curious to hear what your experiences are like, Len. But I think they'll know. I think Disney is America and has been for a very long time.
Right. It's part of America. Yeah.
I think it'll work.
All right. That's good.
So, Jill, sort of bringing things to a close here, what do you want readers to take away from the book?
A few things. We'd love readers to take a deeper understanding of how and why Disney works as it does. Mm-hmm. And also, I deeply hope that readers will come away with a greater curiosity about learning and the many ways of learning and attaining and creating knowledge. I would love those two pieces to go together. We want readers to have fun reading the book, have fun, actually. I think thinking deeply is fun. I hope they enjoy that. And we want to offer them ways through learning, through education, to enrich their Disney experiences, whether at the parks or through films or Walt's biography. We have a lot of chapters that touch on who Walt is and why. And so those are some of the big picture things. We have at the back of the book a section called takeaways, which are really short, accessible things that anybody who's interested in Disney, maybe who's planning a trip, can just open up and look at this list of things, pass before the index. And the idea behind that was, we've got 20 experts on Disney from a range of perspectives. If you could pull them aside and say, hey, what's your favorite thing? What do I have to do? If I were teaching a class on this, what would I have to do? And so that's a way for our contributors to be I'll give you some insider tips from what I care about. And so we have that in the back. And I think that's a fun feature of the book as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I imagine that within the Disney Dish listenership, there are academics who probably teach Disney that we don't know about. And if they wanted to get in touch with you, say potentially for a second volume of the book, where can people find more of you, Jill?
Please. So my personal website is under construction. The best way to find me is through Guilford College's faculty page and through email. But I would love to hear from anybody who reads the book or has any questions. Fantastic.
And what's your email at Guilford College?
So it's my last name, Peterfesso, JM at guilford.edu. Peterfesso, JM at guilford.edu.
All right. I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll also put a link to the book in the show notes too. Thank you for being on the show.
Awesome.
I appreciate it, Jill.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll be right back.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
On to the news. The Disney Dish News is sponsored by UnlockedMagic.com from our friends at DVCRentalStore.com. The first 3 nights of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party are now sold out, so now is the perfect time to visit UnlockedMagic.com, who's got regular Disney theme park tickets and special events tickets with 10% off for things like the Very Merry Christmas Party and Jollywood Nights. Those event tickets are going fast, so visit UnlockedMagic.com right now to save big on your admission. All right, Jim, let's start with Walt Disney World news. In a bit of news that happened while we started recording, we've learned that in Epcot, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is going to go 2D, down from 3D, that's one less D, after it completes its refurb later this year. So they're getting rid of the 3D effects and I guess the 3D glasses. Jim, this follows the same change for Remy in Disneyland Paris, right? It did that earlier?
It did. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where are we in regard to Star Tours The Adventures Continue? They still do the 3D glasses, or is that
still 3D? Yeah, still 3D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch this space, Len. I'm just saying.
So what's driving that? Is it guest satisfaction? Like, is it cheaper? Is it easier? Is it faster? Like what?
Well,
all of the above?
Okay. A couple of things. There had historically always been folks visiting the resort that have to wear the 3D glasses on top of their glasses, and it's
that's me. Yeah,
there we go. All right, not a satisfying experience. Coupled with the fact that, especially post COVID, where suddenly there were a lot of people. It's like, I'm not putting on glasses that somebody else touched, and it's like, well, we clean them. In fact, we have an elaborate machine backstage that cleans these sort of things. But staring down the barrel of Muppet Vision 3D going away earlier this year.
Right.
It's sort of a notion of, okay, we're not really doing this anymore. So, okay. Now, that does get interesting given that, face it, Journey into Imagination, the pavilion over there has its 3D movie, or used to. And, we've talked previously on the show about, there's supposedly a $250 million redo in the works for that pavilion eventually at Epcot. So one wonders, what do you do in that theater if you're not doing 3D?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing to say, come see our extravaganza 3-dimensional 3D movie, because 3D is still relatively rare, for moviegoers. But then to say, come see our movie, like, how do you jazz that up, right? Come see our 3D movie versus come see our movie are two different things, I think, in the eyes of the average theme park guest. So that's going to be super interesting. You got to believe, though, that one, it's less complicated to make a 3D movie. It's probably more reliable to run. You can probably board people faster, and then you don't have the cleanup and the replacement costs of when people decide to take 3D glasses home as souvenirs, right?
Absolutely.
So. You kind of see it from a cost and efficiency perspective, but by the same token, you can make the most cost-effective and efficient attraction in the world. But if people don't like it or it doesn't sound exciting, they're just not going to go. Yeah. Right. So,
and remember that this has been going on. I want to say, our pal Seth Kabersky was talking about what was it? Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey went from being 3D with glasses to 2D. For much the same reason. So,
yeah, I believe it. All right, cool. In other news, Jim, over at Hollywood Studios, Disney's ended the Disney Junior Play and Dine Breakfast at Hollywood and Vine. That makes sense since the Disney Junior Show and Animation Courtyard is also closed. The breakfast is still available, and it's themed to Minnie's seasonal dining schedule. So currently Halloween, but then eventually it'll transition to Christmas and whatnot. So that's a fairly seamless transition for Hollywood and Vine.
Cool.
Also, Jim, I noted that Disney's announced that the Animal Kingdom's new Zootopia Better Zoogether will have Lightning Lane Multipass when it opens, and also virtual queues, at least for the first few days it's open. I don't anticipate those virtual queues to last for too long. We typically don't see them for shows.
No. Again, I think we talked about on the dish earlier this summer about Disneyland putting a virtual queue in place for the Walt animatronic show, and
for one day.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think Lightning Lane is going to be needed for Zootopia after the first couple of weeks it opened. Maybe during holidays, but it's going to be far, far lower on your priority list. Like that, you could probably do that as a day of if you needed to.
Oh, true.
Also, Jim, last bit of Disney World news is that Disney announced a new discount for Georgia residents, with room rates starting at $129 per night plus tax. And that's for stays running November 16th through the 29th, and then December 12th through the 25th. So November 16th to 29th does include Thanksgiving.
They do.
December 12th through the 25th is the week before Christmas, at least. And I noticed here, Jim, that Disney originally did discounts for Florida residents, and now it's Georgia residents. So they're extending that one-day drive market a bit more.
Yeah,
what do you make out of this?
Well, just the fact that they're doing this, and I mean the proximity to Georgia. But that's intriguing, especially those times of year when normally, don't get me wrong, the weeks leading up to Christmas, there has been some softness, but wow,
sure.
That's interesting.
The week of Thanksgiving is the most interesting date there, and then covering December 23rd, 24th, 25th. Is also. I'm not going to say unusual, but combined with the fact that it's just for Georgia residents, I think this is Disney casting that wider net to try and make up for some slowness that it's perceiving in future bookings.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
All right, Jim, over in Disneyland, the storybook canal boats are getting a new bit of architecture in the form of Rapunzel's Tower, and I've put the concept art for this in the show notes. Jim, the thing that I love about the concept art is that if you look at what the people in the storybook canal boat are looking at, none of them are looking at Rapunzel's Tower. It's
so interesting you say that, because Jim Schul, our partner in crime over on Disney Unpacked, he shared this piece of concept art with me earlier this week and talked about that if he had brought this to Marty Sklar back in the day, Marty would have beaten him senseless.
Oh, yeah. And he would have deserved it. Jim would have deserved it, right?
But he's like, back in the day, you actually, and he said, this is what kind of kills me about living in the age of AI. The notion of somebody composed this, and, rule number one, if you're putting something new in the attraction, is a boat full of people looking excited and pointing at it, not,
At the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love about this piece of concept art is that the guide, the cast member in the boat, is looking at something that is literally a 90-degree angle from what everyone else in the boat is looking at. They're looking at two different things, right? It's like someone's looking at 12 o'clock on the clock and everyone else is looking at 3 o'clock. Like no one's looking at the same thing. But, all right.
Yeah.
You know what? The intern's got to get some experience too. That's what I'm going with on that.
There we go. All right. Let's blame the intern. Okay.
All right, Jim, a couple of bits of Universal Parks news, too. Universal Orlando has started rolling out its own version of Lightning Lane Single Pass. They're calling it Universal Express Single Attraction Access. It's currently available at Revenge of the Mummy and Kong Reign of Terror. The price is $25 per person, per attraction, per ride. And I note that's on the very expensive side for Universal Express as compared to Lightning Lane Single Pass. That's sort of like the high end of Single Pass. What and these aren't like super in demand attractions. So what do you think is going on here, Jim?
No, I mean, please let this be a trial balloon that immediately deflates. I mean, between that price point and the fact that you want me to pony up $25 to go to do Revenge of the Mummy again? It's like no. Oof.
I can see during holiday times, right? And I like the idea of single attraction access because in any park there are a handful of like super critical attractions that you want to see where you don't want to necessarily pay the money for 15 different attractions that are sort of tier or D tickets or C tickets, right? You've got a few that you want to do, and for those you might be willing to pay it. But for this, like Kong Reign of Terror, I don't know that the average wait time gets much above like 30 minutes these days.
No. And if anything, given its elaborate queue, I mean, I mean this in the kindest possible way, but Universal is usually smarter than this. I mean, for example,
it's got to be a test.
Well, gotta be. But for example, their holiday tour, coming up, which get you seating for the Grinch and a photo op with the Grinch and that sort of thing. Full day experience, primo seating or viewing place for the Macy's parade. That's $70 a person, for a full day of an entertainment, not $25 to
$25 to save 20 minutes.
No.
So maybe they're testing the price point and some demand here too.
Okay.
That's what I suspect.
Okay.
We'll say. All right. Other bit of Universal news is that Universal Kids in Frisco, Texas, has announced the themes of their 7-land park, scheduled to open 2026, and they've released descriptions and concept art, which I've put in the show notes. So, Jim, the 7 lands are Shrek's Swamp, Puss in Boots Del Mar, Minions vs. Minions Bello Bay Club, Jurassic World Adventure Camp, Trolls Fest, I feel like that's the show every week, SpongeBob SquarePants Bikini Bottom, and then Isle of Curiosity. So the Isle of Curiosity is the entrance land, and it'll have a meet and greet with Gabby from Gabby's Dollhouse for a special meet and greet. And then what Universal is calling a possum dance party. All right, there we go.
Lots of teenagers in cat costumes. I'm just saying, okay?
That's what I'm going. Sure, nothing can go wrong there.
Okay.
Shrek's Swamp will have a meet and greet and 2 water play areas. Puss in Boots Del Mar will have character greetings with Puss in Boots, Mama Luna, and Perrito and Friends. The press release also mentions carnival games and an attraction. The concept art shows a spinning swings type of ride, Jim, which reminds me of the DCA ride, Silly Symphony Swings, right?
Yeah, Silly Symphony Swings, formerly the Orange Singer, but very much a classic amusement park attraction.
All right, fantastic. And then Minions vs. Minions Bello Bay Club has a water raft ride that's it's the size of rafts that you would see like at Collier River Rapids, and also character greetings. And that looks to be, I think, the most elaborate ride in the park so far. Jurassic World Adventure Camp has a dinosaur meet and greet and a fairly elaborate play area, like multiple stories with kids running around and netting like 2 stories up, going from, one side of it to the other.
Yeah. I wonder how much of Dinoland USA
it's directly being shipped over there. Yeah.
What's the markdown on that now? It's slightly used, dinosaur.
And I do notice there's an attraction in the back there, but I don't think they've named it yet. But it looks like there's some sort of roller coaster in the back, on the back right of the
Yeah. If they're really smart, they'll call it the excavator.
The excavator,
there
exactly.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's an already market tested idea. Why reinvent the wheel, right?
There we go.
Over in Trolls Fest, there's a meet and greet with Poppy, Branch, and other trolls, plus 2 interactive play areas that'll offer Poppy's Playland and Troll Critter Crawl, whatever that is. And Jim, I want to pause here and say, at this point, we know of 2 rides and a bunch of interactive play areas. This kind of feels a little light on attractions so far.
Well, again, what's important to stress about this park is this, again, the name says it all, Universal Kids. This is a park that is aimed at families with small children. And in fact, what's kind of interesting is if you're looking for the equivalent, Legoland California, Legoland Florida.
Right. But even then, right? So Legoland's market is the under 8 crowd. But even then, they've got easily, a dozen, maybe 20 attractions, actual rides, in the parks. Here we've got 3, 4?
Well, to be fair here, again, you can't always remember that Legoland Florida was actually built on the back of Cypress Gardens, which had, I think what you might want to do is make a comparison to early Legoland California.
Okay. Yeah, this is the thing we have to keep mentioning to people. We said it with Epic Universe. We'll say it again with Universal Kids. When Disney opened, MGM Studios, there was no Sunset Boulevard. When Disney opened Animal Kingdom, there was no Asia. Those things came later.
They did. Mm-hmm.
So this is something to look at there. All right, Jim, last land here is, and maybe the one I'm most excited for, SpongeBob SquarePants Bikini Bottom. Finally, we're getting a Bikini Bottom where you'll meet SpongeBob SquarePants, you'll meet Patrick Star and Sandy Cheeks. They're saying it'll have oceans of nautical nonsense, which is a line from the theme song. You can explore Muscle Beach for some rest and Pineapple Paradise for some playful splashing around. The concept art shows a kids' play area. But here's my question, Jim. Not to you, but to Universal Creative. Dear Universal Creative, do you dislike money? Are you afraid of success? Because if the answer to those questions is no, tell me why we're not getting a Krusty Krab / Chum Bucket restaurant pairing in this land. Not only is that leaving money on the table, it's actively avoiding money that people are throwing at you. Yeah. Like, we have to be getting a Krusty Krab / Chum Bucket, right?
Well, all right. Now, the one thing that's fascinating about this land, Bikini Bottom, at Universal Kids is if you look at every other single land, in this park, Len, it's Universal owned IP. It's based on animation films. It's based on a DreamWorks television series, that sort of thing. Whereas SpongeBob is actually something Universal licensed from Nickelodeon, right, from Paramount. And I just wonder if maybe there's language in that deal.
Oh, so they probably negotiated these things at a specific cost, but if you wanted...
Yeah.
Oh. Then Nickelodeon would want a cut of the restaurant revenue. Okay, that makes it...
Okay, because face it, Universal is the place that came up with fast food, avenue where, again, you can get a drink at Moe's, you can go to Krusty Burger. They are not afraid of stepping into this space and creating authentic cartoon food. But yeah, I think that may be what's going on here, which is kind of
I suspect this is a budget thing.
Yeah,
right.
But again, you're not wrong. I want a Krabby Patty. I really do.
If they had a Chum Bucket souvenir mug, You think butterbeer was popular, Jim? You think butterbeer was popular?
Oh, yeah, with a little plankton-shaped handle. All right,
exactly.
There we
yes,
go.
The merchandise sells itself, guys. Come on.
Okay.
All right, Jim. On to surveys. Our friend Jeff Clune sent in two Walt Disney World surveys. The first was from the Magic Kingdom and included this question: which entertainment offerings did you personally experience during your visit to the Magic Kingdom? And one of the things that Jeff pointed out there is that it includes the Citizens of Main Street and the Main Street Trolley. And so Jeff asked whether the Citizens of Main Street are still a thing. And unfortunately, all of my recent Magic Kingdom visits have involved rope dropping and attractions, so or being in the park way later than that. So I'm never on Main Street when the guest welcoming Citizens of Main Street thing might happen. So do you know if this is still around, or do they need to update the survey?
Well, what's interesting is the Main Street Trolley show. Have you ever seen that where they do the the clang 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 with the trolley, and then
yep.
And then the walking down Main Street song. You do see the citizens of Main Street come out and support that. I'm a little concerned about this being, again, you and I talk about this all the time. Disney doesn't write a survey without, a goal in mind. And it's like, oh no, don't cut this too.
Do the citizens still walk around Main Street in the morning and act like they live there?
Well,
because I haven't seen that in forever. Again, I'm usually way back in the park by the
I want
the
to
time
say
the park opens,
mayor and the mayor's wife are out, some mornings. I mean, but again, it's certainly not what it once was.
Okay.
They used to be there the better part of the day, and a wonderful interaction.
Yeah, one of the favorite photos that I have of Hannah is with Hannah and one of the suffragettes from Main Street, and Hannah actually used it as a social media profile picture and claimed that the woman in the turn of the 20th century period garb was her mom.
That's funny.
All right. Next survey question that Jeff sent in said this, and I love this question, Jim. For each of the following shows you experience at the Magic Kingdom, how much of the show did you watch? And so for every show, the answers are, we watched most or all of the show. We watched it for a few minutes, and then we noticed the show, but we didn't stop to watch it. What do you think is going on there, Jim?
Boy.
How much of the show did you watch?
And Testa, I blame you for this. All right, you created the touring plans. The notion of people come into the park with a target of things that they need to do.
Sure.
And that again, they want their 10 experiences a day. And face it, right. To watch a show in front of the castle, first you have to show up and you have to claim your space, and then you have to stand there for 20 minutes, and then the show is over and you can move on to your next attraction. And how do you describe these shows in touring plans? I mean, are they worth going out of your way to see, or is it, suggestion of there are better ways to spend your time in the park?
So the way that we typically rank shows is by saying, it's we use a descriptive term about the attraction itself. Like, is this a headliner show? Something like Beauty and the Beast live on stage, Indiana Jones, Epic Stunt Spectacular, right? And then for the, as the shows get smaller, we use phrases like, minor show, minor attraction, or diversion. So Mickey's Friendship Fair, we would say is probably a diversion. Like, if you're in the area and you want to see it, it's fine. But if you're simply walking across the central hub and you, in that, time that you're walking, experience half of one musical number, you've got the gist of the show there.
No, totally. And then when you factor in, I mean, think about it. Beauty and the Beast live on stage, you're at least seated, you're undercover, you're in the shade.
Right.
Whereas a show in front of the castle, you're standing in the direct sun in Florida. You're about to burst into flame as Mickey and Minnie are dancing and singing or battling evil, whatever they're doing.
It's the mixed scent of roasted pretzels, and then roasting flesh, right?
There we go.
I smell pork and pretzels. Like, what's going on here? It's like Germany and Epcot, right? You mentioned, Jim, the having to line up early to get a place to stand for some of these shows. And that brings us to the next question in the survey. And I'm going to say this as ominously as possible, this question. Ready? Which of the areas on the map below was the closest to the location where you viewed Happily Ever After, the nighttime fireworks spectacular? And they've got an aerial view of the Magic Kingdom map with letters A through L. So 12 different, A through M. So 13 different letters corresponding to 13 different spots around the central hub and on Main Street. But they've also got, Jim, behind the castle and over by Mad Tea Party. So I guess the area over by Cosmic Rays. Each of them has an individual letter. And Jim, I note too that not only have they got 13 different things here, they're trying to differentiate between like 15 yards of space here, because the distance between E and D is it's in the show notes, but you're basically saying the north part of the central hub itself and the south part of the central hub, where there's only that little round planter in between. They're trying to differentiate where you were standing, your location, to that level of detail.
Yeah.
And so, Jim, I feel like this question could be rephrased as, where should we put another Happily Ever After dessert party?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Wow. The other thing I think worth noting here, and remember, we've talked about what's coming with the opening of Piston Peak and Villains Land. Another 10,000 people per day being crammed into the kingdom, and the notion that just finding out where people are standing today to watch the nighttime fireworks show, and this is after, in fact, what's fascinating about that, this is after they effectively took all of the green space that was previously in the hub and created those corrals. Remember back in the day, that was, a fast pass thing, the effect of you could get an assignment to watch the fireworks from a specific corral.
One of the, I was talking to somebody in the Magic Kingdom on Tuesday, and I was giving them the history of the swan boats, which used to go around the central hub. And there's still a waterway, right?
Yeah.
That goes around the central hub. If you've been in the Magic Kingdom recently, you know that as you're going into Tomorrowland, you cross a bridge and there's water on either side of you. And if you're going towards Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, there's water on either side of you. And if you're going towards Adventureland or Liberty Square, right? There's no reason that waterway needs to exist, right, Jim?
No.
Like, you could fill that in.
Oh, Rivers of America 2. Don't give them this idea, Len.
I'm just saying that those waterways, number one, the waterways contribute to the overall ambience of the central hub, right? I like the waterways.
Yeah.
I think the waterfalls, especially in Tomorrowland, are very, very nice. But if you're looking for space for 10,000 more people to stand in a day, Jim, and you just happen to have dug up a whole bunch of now free dirt over in Adventureland.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And on the question of future planning, the next question seems to be useful for anyone who's designing a new set of rides to be open in, say, 3 to 5 years. The question is this: which of these aspects, if any, had a positive impact on your experience with Tron Light Cycle Run? Was it the light cycle itself, the motorcycle-style ride vehicle? Was it being digitized into the world of Tron? Was it the overall storyline, such as the race across the grid? Was it the music? Was it the Team Green post-show space? Was it the upload conduit, which is the canopy with light panels and digital effects? Was it the launch? Was it the storage lockers? Or was it the Light Rover, the standard-style ride vehicle with a lap bar rather than the motorcycle? And Jim, I mentioned this because as Disney's designing new rides for Villains Land, and we haven't heard anything about that's going into Villains Land, I think the answers to this question would be super useful if you're trying to design those rides.
Okay, but I want to meet the sad individuals like storage lockers. Oh my God, the storage lockers were amazing. Oh,
yeah. There was a similar question on which ones had the greatest positive impact. So if you said, you picked 3 of these things, the next question was like, of those, which had the greatest impact on it? And that was really interesting to me too. Yeah, I think this is, as we design future rides, which are things that we need to consider in terms of your overall experience.
Sure.
There was another question about whether you rode Tron during the day or night. So I'm guessing that for Villains in particular, the nighttime ride experience for whatever they're designing is going to be a particular area of focus. That seems like a no-brainer, though, right? The Jeff's second survey was from Hollywood Studios and had one question I thought was super interesting. It was this: the inability to find available shaded seating had a negative impact on our visit to Disney's Hollywood Studios, and it ranges from strongly agree to strongly disagree. That is something I think that that Disney's definitely concerned with. Not only for this park, but again, we're building a park in Abu Dhabi that's going to open in 2030.
Yeah.
All right, you got to take those things into account.
True.
All right.
Okay.
All right, on to listener questions. Here's one from Andrew, who says, I just listened to the episode where Universal surveyed people about potential popcorn bucket flavors, and you both asked, what's the flavor of glitter? I have that answer. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
It says, I work for a very large paint company, and closely with our glitter paint products, edible glitter is made from sugar, corn and rice starch, and metallic food dye. When sugar is tempered, it forms a glossy sheen and then pulverized into a fine powder. It's a laborious process, and that's why it's expensive. And I also worked in the food manufacturing world. And here's a big twist to something you mentioned. Yeah, the number one buyer of glitter in the U.S. is the marine and automotive industries. However, exactly which marine and auto buyers? It's been long rumored that in the coatings world, that the U.S. government is the biggest consumer of glitter, using it in marine, auto, aircraft, and missile weapons applications. That's all I know. That's all I'm going to talk about. All right, so there we are.
Wow. Now I know if I see something, streaking across the sky and it's shiny. Oh, it's a Tomahawk missile. Okay.
Look how glittery that is.
There we go.
Those Tomahawks look amazing. That's fantastic. All right. We also have an email from Matt Scalici, who says, I was doing some research on Back to the Future and discovered that production designer Andrew Probert, who designed both the DeLorean time machine and the iconic logo for the film, worked for a number of years in Disney Imagineering. I haven't been able to find any information about which attractions he worked on. Do you have any idea what projects Andrew Probert may have been involved with in Imagineering? Thanks. Love the show. All right. So I actually emailed Andrew to ask Matt's question, and Andrew responded the very same day. Amazing. Here's what he had to say.
Okay.
He says, I was asked to work on all of the attractions below in my capacity as show designer. I don't know if that job title still exists today. I think it does. But it involved my coming up with ideas on how the following areas should look. And then Andrew says, in no order whatsoever, he worked on the entry to the Beauty and the Beast castle at Disneyland Paris, the dirigible, which is the island at the top of the world thing, the overhead entrance display, the approach and surrounding areas for the Nautilus submarine walkthrough, the design for the rocket ride ships for the Orbitron, all of those in Disneyland Paris. Jim, did we ever get the Top of the World dirigible?
We did. Actually, what's interesting is it's in Disneyland Paris. In fact, the quick service food court. You basically eat under the dirigible there.
Oh, got it. It's been so long since I've been. I got to go again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then over in Disneyland in Anaheim, Andrew worked on the Roger Rabbit ride. He worked on some ideas for Pirates of the Caribbean, multiple ideas for New Tomorrowland as well. And then he says he worked on ideas for the Long Beach Water Park.
Oh, did the original Disney
I don't know
Seas.
about this.
Oh, it was a... it was during that time that when Disney bought the Disneyland Hotel from the Rather Corporation, that also came with the Queen Mary down in Long Beach, and Disney for a time envisioned building a Southern California resort with 3 hotels and a theme park, and it's an amazing project. And sadly, it was put in competition with Anaheim and Westcott, and the sad irony of that whole story is neither Westcott nor the Long Beach Disney Sea Park ever got built. We wound up with California Adventure, though some ideas did make their way over to Tokyo Disney Seas, but not a lot of them. So, but no, it's a fascinating project. We should do something about it.
And while we're talking about projects that didn't get built, Andrew says he worked on the main entry for something called the Living Forest in Epcot. The Living Forest. No idea what this is. He also said he worked on ride enhancements for Horizons, and I was bitter about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was at least one iteration of picture the space now where you enter World Showplace, that space between Canada and the UK pavilion. There was supposed to be an amazing hedge maze built back here, but the gimmick was that as you made your way through the hedge maze, it was like the super deluxe meet and greet of all time. You'd come around a corner and here are the Alice in Wonderland characters, and you get to hang out with them for a minute. And then you move through the hedge maze, and now it's Peter Pan and Wendy and Captain Hook, and you move through the hedge maze, and then it's Winnie the Pooh, and then you finish up with the Mary Poppins characters. The idea was, a celebration of all the great Disney adaptations of classic, children's stories from the UK. And
that's fascinating. Huh. Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to follow up then on a couple of these things. Maybe we'll have them on the show.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No. I mean, the thing is, I know Andrew from his other, his non-Disney work, for example, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I mean, he
right.
worked
Yeah. Star Trek.
Yeah. So, all right, cool, good. So excited you got to chat with him.
Yeah, and thanks to Andrew for responding so quickly. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim gives us the history of Disney Springs West Side and more. We'll be right back.
The detective said missing kids usually come home. What happens when they don't?
Based on a true story.
Police looking for John Gacy.
We discovered bodies. By the looks of it, they're younger men. The things he did to those kids. He's sick.
The system failed these families.
Devil in Disguise, John Wayne Gacy. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
Do you know how many there are?
Up to you to find out.
This episode is brought to you by 20th Century Studios' new film, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, starring Golden Globe winner Jeremy Allen White and Academy Award nominee Jeremy Strong. Scott Cooper, the director of the Academy Award-winning movie Crazy Heart, brings you the story of the most pivotal chapter in the life of an icon. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Only in theaters October 24th. Get your tickets now.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back. All right, Jim. We left off last week talking about Pleasure Island, right?
Yeah.
And how, like, even before it opened, Disney had some interesting ideas there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, again, we were just talking about them, doing something in Long Beach, a theme park down there. But, Disney was also looking at Pleasure Island as a possible franchise. And as we mentioned on the last week's show, they went to Boston and scouted the area, around where the seaport has since been built. Likewise, they were in Philadelphia looking at Penn's Landing. But here's the thing, Len. When they open Pleasure Island in May of '89, Disney gets an education very quickly about what's actually involved in running a nighttime entertainment district with bars. And in this case, it's not just, they didn't like Videopolis East, let's change that to the Cage, or people are falling down in the Rock and Roller Dome, let's make that a beach club. This is more about the fact that at 1:30 in the morning, when you close this thing, people who've maybe had one too many beverages climb in their car. What was interesting is that Disney security would have, this fleet of vehicles lined up on Buena Vista Drive, and if you swerved in even the slightest way coming out of the Pleasure Island parking lot, they snagged you. Now, mind you, these are typically people who are staying at the resort, and so Disney was discreet, Disney was quiet, but it was all about absolutely making sure that nobody who'd been overserved made their way out onto I-4.
Sure. Yeah, that would, because that's once you're off property, you can't control the message.
And that was the thing. Dick Nunes, the then head of Disney Parks, was like, whoa, but we can do this in Florida, but hell, even if we build a Pleasure Island in Anaheim, we can't do this. Let's put a pin in that Boston Philadelphia idea until we get a better handle on this. And also the other thing Disney learned is, they said we're not in competition with Church Street Station. They were in competition with Church Street Station, and they had to figure out.
It's funny that they say they weren't, because if you look at the memo from 1984 about what should we build next, it literally says. There's a whole section on Church Street Station.
There we go.
Like, there's an entire section on what it does.
Yeah, no. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But anyway, so they decide we need a hook. And so this is when, in 1990, they come up with the idea, Len, of every night is New Year's Eve at Pleasure Island. 11:30 or thereabouts, they chase everybody out of the crowds. There's an amazing street party, and then the countdown to New Year's, and there's a fireworks display over Lake Buena Vista.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the Simpsons episode that refers to this. Well, first of all, you have to watch this at some point, Len. It's called Itchy and Scratchy Land. It's from,
of course, yeah.
Sixth season of the show, but it's the Simpsons going to their local Disneyland equivalent, and Marge and Homer at one point need to get a break from Bart, Lisa, and Maggie, so they slip off to Parent Island, where they then grab a seat inside of TGI McScratchy's Good Time Food Drinkery, and where every 15 minutes it's New Year's Eve. And so Marge at one point,
oh my god, that's genius. it's like T-Rex, the where the volcano goes off every 15 minutes, but with combined. Oh god, that's hilarious.
Marge at one point turns to one of the waiters and, it must be wonderful that it's New Year's Eve in here every 15 minutes. The waiter's like, please kill me.
All right.
It's just Pleasure Island. They continue to monkey with it. I mean, they're constantly looking for ways. Well, what'll bring people in. So, for example, you get Jessica of Hollywood's that opens December of 1990. Everybody remembers the giant lit up Jessica on the building and her leg that would sway back and forth. Interesting thing, that closed relatively quickly, Len, February of 93, and not because the store wasn't selling a lot of Jessica material, but this is when the company found out that Steven Spielberg is not happy, and he's decided we're not making Roger Rabbit 2. But anyway, so that closes February of 93. We talked about on last week's show how in August of 93 we got the Jazz Club. But at the same time, it's like, what else is going to get people in here? What can we do? Right. So we get the Planet Hollywood that's built literally, on the edge of the parking lot to Pleasure Island, and in fact, that opens.
That's right.
December of '94, and it's sort of catty corner between the AMC, Pleasure Island, and Pleasure Island itself, the nightclub complex, and the notion is, hey, go see a movie, and then after you've seen the movie, come in here and eat under the naked Sylvester Stallone in a block of ice. But
that's appetizing.
There we go. Now, mind you, that comes at a cost. The Planet Hollywood of Pleasure Island, 400 people at a time inside of that thing.
That's going to be like the largest or the second largest restaurant in that area at that time, right? Maybe the Empress Lily was...
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up the Empress Lily because, with the, it's three separate restaurants, the Fisherman's Deck, the Steerman's Quarter, and the Empress Room. On the heels of Planet Hollywood opening in December of 94, business falls off seriously in early 95. Yep. So much so that the Empress Lily closes in April of 95. And again, supreme irony here, Len. I mean, Pleasure Island was built where it was built because the Empress Lily was part of its mythology. I mean, this was, Meriwether Pleasure supposedly bought that steamboat and brought it to Florida. But so the Empress Lily closes, and it gets reimagined as Fulton's Crab House, which opens in March of 96. That's a year when we start to see some big outside restaurants come in. So
Planet Hollywood is I would say a themed restaurant. What else do we get?
Well, we get Rainforest Cafe, August of 96. But at the same time, the folks at the resort are eyeballing the fact that attendance is slumping at Pleasure Island. Foot traffic is down at the Disney Village Marketplace, and there's a sort of a meeting of the minds. It's like, guys, we have two different advertising budgets for things that are literally on top of one another.
Oh, they were marketing the shopping different in a separate group than the marketing group for restaurants?
Yeah. All right. So
really?
So what ends up happening is Disney finally decides, look, these two separate entities. This is one giant complex now. In fact, more to the point, it needs to be updated. It needs to be more urban. And this is where the concept for downtown Disney comes in. But again, with the notion of we have to have something new to sell, they make the decision that out behind the AMC theaters, they're going to take 66 acres of land, Len, and develop a brand new set of restaurants and clubs, the West Side.
Oh, right. Okay.
Now, mind you, sort of an early precursor to Disney Springs, these are three distinctly different neighborhoods. We have downtown Disney Marketplace, we have downtown Disney Pleasure Island, and downtown Disney West Side.
Okay, so Jim, let me see if I understand where this expansion is. So I'm going to, let's say I'm coming in from the orange parking garage. If I'm coming in from the orange parking garage and I walk back towards the balloon, the aerofield balloon, that area to my left, if I'm looking at the balloon, that was parking lot. before.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
The bridge that goes to Maria and Enzo's now would be the bridge to Adventurers Club, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And that's the thing. It was a green field, so to speak, that, they could build straight down there. Now, mind you, this gets announced September of 96, and it's going to be restaurants, nightclubs, and the really big, thing was a a theater that would house a brand new Cirque du Soleil show.
Right.
And that was new. Cirque did traveling shows. They did not do, this is before, all the, when you think about all the shows in Vegas that have been there forever, this is the first, sit down, standalone show in its own theater. But again, and to sort of stick a flag in that this is different now, October of 96 is when we get the World of Disney opening in the marketplace. By the way, this is the second of the sort of supersized Disney stores. The first actually opened on Fifth Avenue, New York, May of that year. And then, what's interesting about the West Side Project is it doesn't open all at once. I mean, September of 97, we get our first chunks of it. We get the Bongos Cuban Cafe, a 2-story restaurant that celebrates Old Havana, down toward where the Cirque Theater will eventually open. We get and this is literally the real name of it, Len, the Downtown Disney West Side Walt Disney World House of Blues.
Presented by Walt Disney.
There we go.
Wow. The Downtown Disney West Side Walt Disney World House of Blues.
There we go. Just slides it right off the tongue.
Right off the tongue. Yeah.
There we
that's
go.
Easy to remember.
But again, another 400-seat restaurant, but also with a 2,000-seat music venue.
Is it really that big? I've never seen a show there. 2,000 seats?
There we go.
That's huge.
Yeah. No, it's a big complex back there. And then in the marketplace proper, same time, we got our first, Lego store, and also over inside of Pleasure Island, they are trying new things to try to increase the foot traffic. Firehouse Factory gets replaced by the Wild Horse Saloon in May of 98. Just a week or so after that, the Neon Armadillo Music Saloon, which used to be right across the way, top of the hill from Adventures Club, that becomes the BET Soundstage Club. Oh. And then, June of 98, Disney Quest opens, our 5-story indoor theme park. And then in December of that same year, La Nuba finally comes up. But here's the problem, Len.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, La Nuba was the original name of that show. Fascinating. Okay, cool.
It was. But during the day, not a problem. People could walk from the marketplace side of downtown Disney. They could go up over the hill through Pleasure Island, then down on the west side. However, at night, when the gates closed at Pleasure Island, you need a ticket. This becomes a barrier. There is no logical flow-through between the marketplace and the west side, which really becomes an issue. So what do you do to fix that? You got to build a causeway. And when we get back to this story, we're going to talk about how that causeway leads to the Hyperion Wharf project. And how Raglan Road, when it comes up out of the ground, made people at Disney think, now, wait a minute. Maybe it's time to stop taking a piecemeal approach and do something big. And more to the point, we need to do something about how Pleasure Island has become a barrier in the middle of this nighttime entertainment complex. Just to stress here, though, folks, we're not going to pick up the story next week. Because next week is our show before Halloween, and Mr. Testa, in response to a Disney Dish listener request, we're going to take a look at the Headless Horseman attraction that almost got built at the Magic Kingdom. And then the week after that, we'll wrap up Raglan Road.
Fascinating. I'm super excited for that. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. Our latest show is The Rise and Fall of Disneyland's Viewliner, and there's a link to it in the show notes. Also, there's a link to Jim Scholl's Disney Journey channel on YouTube there. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com, and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Kersey and David Gray, just hired as assistants to Messrs. Donner and Blitzen for the 2025 Reindeer Encounter, where you can feed and pet real reindeer, running November 28th through December 22nd, 2025, at the Whitetail Acres Nursery, Landscaping, and Reindeer Farm. That's on Old Blue Creek Road in beautiful downtown Brookville, Indiana. While Eric and David are doing that, please go on to iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.